Hello, world. Welcome to Code or Not to Code. I'm Millie Eva. I'm really happy to be here today. And as always, Stefan's here to join me. How are you doing, Stefan?
I'm doing marvelous. I've been looking forward. This is my fortnightly highlight.
Fabulous, amazing. Um, I'm really excited for today as well. We are going to continue to work with you on our tool. But before we get into all of that, yeah, we wanted to sort of talk a little bit about thank you so much for tuning in if you're a live viewer. Um, but we've heard from a couple of sources that it's sometimes a bit difficult to keep track of when we're streaming, what the content is going to be like, what guests we're having. So if you're interested in following us on Twitter, please do. We post everything that we're about to do, everything we've done, so you can keep track of our upcoming streams, our previous streams, and our learnings that we also try and post in little tweets here and there, and yeah, and loads of exciting content. So yeah, if you're interested, please follow us on Twitter. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today.
For example, Yes, all the devil. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's always better, like this is we're coding live. We're sort of figuring out as we're going, so it's always really good to have a lot of sort of keen viewers who help us out when things get tricky. So thank you for joining, and yes, please shout out any things that you see that you might have questions about, or that we might be doing wrong or something like that while we're coding. We always really appreciate your input, so please do that.
Like, for example, last time we had
Yeah.
some help with naming and designing our type that we wanted to return at, yes, um, for our using counter. So here we are in the type, we are in our using, no, perhaps let's start, sorry, I
Ooh.
was rushing ahead. Let's start with a little bit of a roundup from last time.
Yeah. Let's do that. Ooh, there's a lot of red
Oh yeah, I'm not.
stuff.
I thought I reworded everything, so let's give it a build and see it go. Oh,
Oh, good
no, that's
start.
embarrassing. Because I thought I reworded it. Oh no, I haven't. There we go.
Okay,
There we go. So
fabulous.
yeah, fixed.
Quick fix, love it. Okay.
Yeah. So we improved our test a little bit. We're now having a create project method where we then create our ad hoc workspace that we use for testing. We add a test project, and all the all the strings we turn into documents, and then add them to the compilation. And then we have our project that we use as an input for our global using counter. No, not the global using counter, the local using counter. To which we also added new tests to actually ignore the global usings, because we don't
Yes.
want to count the global usings. They're global already.
Yes.
And then we were about refactoring our production code a little bit, and then wanted to, instead of the I read only dictionary, actually return our own custom type here. So this is where we left off last time. I will place this here, and this is where it doesn't compile anymore because we haven't finished there.
Yeah.
And have now here our type that basically has, yeah, two hierarchies. So we have our result type that internally manages a dictionary with a string that we use on an identifier and using occurrence. And then per using occurrence, we then have the count, which represents the result. And I think last time I coded myself a little bit into a pickle, I guess.
Happens to the best of us.
But we did figure out how we can use the C# 11 required feature on .NET 6 target frameworks, where .NET 6 actually supports C# 10, but we still got it running via some polyfilling and conditional compilation. So if you want to see that trick, definitely give that other episode a rewatch. Okay, and now we would like to continue on that very type.
Yes.
So I guess this is also always my first question: naming. So with the type that holds the amount, the count of using. So we have a name and a count of using. We called last time it's a using occurrence. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's the right name because that using occurrence actually occurs multiple times. So the name that I was actually thinking about is if we call it a using directive. And now this using directive now may have, well, perhaps we don't call it count, but occurrences. To still have the
Okay,
occurrence name in it. What do you think about that?
I like that. I think that makes sense.
Then I should have done a rename again.
Yep.
And and actually have here, yeah, I have some prepared the names so that I don't do, yeah, because I had a typo, I thought so. Occurrence, so that's double C and double R. Okay.
Wow, good word.
And
Love
okay, I
it.
do have a to do here that we later on want to, or we could then add
Mm-hmm.
flags and kinds, such as if it is static, global, and or an alias. But currently we don't have that. It's currently only a local, non-static, non-aliased using. So this will be perhaps for a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Assault Devil writes that there are only two hard things in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things. I think also off by one errors belong to this list of two hard things.
What are cache invalidations?
So when to tell that the cache is obsolete, that it shouldn't be used anymore, but the result be actually calculated again and not this previously calculated
Ah,
cache reused.
yes. Okay.
Because if we use the same cache for 7 years, at some time it
Yep.
may become stale.
Fair enough.
And the when do we want to refresh that? That's always a tough question.
Okay, fair enough.
And okay, so we now have, and yeah, to also count the results, I ended up doing some weird construct and then now basically mimicking the features that a dictionary had. But I think I didn't really like that, so let's get rid of that.
Okay.
What
Wait,
we
what did we just get rid of? That was
the
quick.
the so actually yeah,
Yes,
that's a
Control A, delete.
that's a
No.
great question actually. So perhaps let's go from the other direction. So let's build
Yeah.
up this using count. So we want to have a using count result. Let's create that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's pass in the result into each count using invocation that we invoke per document that we find.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is what we built last time. We ignore all the aliases. Never get this right. All the globals and all the statics. And then we know it's a local using that we want to count. And now we want to increment that count. And yeah, what we have here is this dictionary logic that I basically mimicked in our type. But
Mm-hmm.
I then afterwards thought this isn't maybe not the best, because why would we mimic a dictionary, but it isn't, it shouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
why not use a dictionary if we want to have a dictionary?
Yeah. No,
So I
fair
was now
enough.
thinking about building have maybe, I mean, initially I thought about, I copied the name, something like increment.
Okay.
And what we talked just before the stream, maybe add or increment. So
Nice.
if it's not found yet, we will add a new one with count one, basically doing that. But if it's there already, we increment the count by one. So we could now pass in the identifier in here,
Mm-hmm.
get rid of the rest, hit control dot here to generate this method. We can make this internal because the receiver of this result shouldn't add anything to it. It should be immutable to them, or at least not changeable. So let's get rid of the add as well. And
Mm-hmm.
now, would you like to implement the functionality to add or increment?
Uh, yeah.
Well, actually, I was a little bit unfair because I just deleted. We implemented this last time already. So
I know. I was
should
like,
we should we
okay.
grab that?
Yes.
We
Let's grab it.
can use it as a template. We wrote it too much. Paste it in and now get it to compile.
Okay, okay, okay. So what have we got here? So we've got result. I'll try to. Okay. Um, I'm confused. Okay, so what is the result now? What is okay? What does it have here? The name result does not exist in the current context because we renamed it to.
So what we now have is our dictionary, our underlying dictionary is now the underscore occurrences.
Okay.
Maybe that's also not the best
Ugh.
name because it's
Oh
not
God.
necessarily one occurrence. Maybe we call this usings. Maybe
Oh my
that's a
God.
more maybe that's a clearer name. I remain this into usings. So our dictionary that holds as a key the name of the using, and as a value the using directive that we can count is now the underscore usings field.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that's actually
Um.
that's a good perfect place to start. So we want to take a look if that dictionary already contains that identifier, basically.
Yes. Okay. So if the dictionary, which is called usings now,
Mm-hmm.
um, has wait has what does it try get value do? We don't. Do we need this? No,
Yes, yeah. So
we
this
do.
is a great way to access the dictionary because what it does, it checks does
Okay.
this key exist in our case the string identifier, and if
Mm-hmm.
it does exist, it returns true, and also in the out parameter
Ah, I remember now.
fills
Yeah.
fills in the value. But if it's false, it sets a default to this value. In our case, then it would be null.
Okay. Um. But wait. But how does it know? Oh, if this key that already exists, so I need to give it a key though, right?
Yes, and we can use the identifier as our key.
Yes. Identifier. Fabulous.
And
And
I will
the
rename this because
out.
this is no longer an int.
Yeah.
This is now actually our result. Well, no,
Okay.
actually, result is a bad name.
Yeah.
This is one using. But we can't use using here because using is a reserved keyword, so we can't use using as a name.
Oh
Or we
God.
could have, we could either have, we could either have, because we can't use using as an identifier because it's a reserved keyword name. What we could do is write an at before of that to still be able to use that name,
Okay.
or we call it using directive, whatever you
Yeah,
prefer.
I'd call it using directive, I think.
Using directive it is.
Is that smart? Or is that because like I just I think I would just get confused by the at the next time I read it, probably.
That's
But it might just be
that's
because
fair.
I've never seen it before. But I don't know.
That's fair. Actually, the at or is escaping keywords as identifiers is rarely used in code, so it may be actually more confusing. So I guess it is smart to use a more common name. Yeah.
Okay. And then what do we y- uh, what do we call this? Occurrences, was it?
So this is
No.
so this is now the yeah this is now so if we found the value,
Yeah.
we get we will have this as non-null. So actually, I can. So we don't have the nullable reference type. Never mind. So this will be non-null, and so we can now take a look at this using directive type because this
Mm-hmm.
using directive, we know we have found it. It has a name. So what we
Mm-hmm.
now need to do is to increment this
Occurrences.
occurrences
Yes.
property.
Occurrences. Fabulous.
But that's now no
No.
longer on the. That's now because we're now in a different type. This is no longer on the result type itself, but on this using directive type.
Using using directive using directive type. So using directive. Oh my God. Why are you so fast at this? Why am I so slow? God.
Let's talk
Okay.
in the year or two. This will be a
And
whole
is this
different
probably
story.
small? Is it what? Why?
The using directive is lowercase because it's
Fabulous.
that local variable.
And
And
it's not liking
why
what
does it
is
not?
happening.
So yeah, I think it's also a typo.
Okay.
Occurrences
Let's
because it has
okay.
two
There you
R.
go.
I think yeah.
Let me just do it this way. Fabulous. Yay. Yes, so never. I know I should never. That's what everyone. Ooh. Um, Everyone always tells me to not like type stuff out, but I just can't help myself. Don't know why. One day.
And if we don't find it, if we didn't find it, we actually need to add it. Because now
Okay.
we don't have a using directive in this dictionary, so now let's add one.
Okay. But I thought, isn't that what this try get value thing does?
Yeah, but if we don't find this identifier in this dictionary, then it will return false, and this will be null. So we don't have any. That means we now have to add it with count 1.
Yeah.
So we actually need
But
to
so we have
call.
to.
Sorry. go
So
ahead.
okay, wait. The occurrences is now 1, but I suppose we still need to add the actual name, the actual using, right?
To the dictionary, yes.
Yes. And how do we do that? So we do. Is that usings? No,
Yeah,
usings
yeah.
to add.
Let's have a look what methods it has. So let's do that and see what autocompletion offers us. And
Add.
indeed, there is an add.
Fabulous. And then
Now
what do we add?
A combination of a key value again. So as the first one is the key.
So the identifier.
Yes, and the next one is the value. So we need to create a new instance of the value.
Is it just one?
So
No.
this is no longer just an integer. This is what we had previously, but we now
Okay.
have this complex using directive type. So we need to create a new instance of this type.
New using directive. Like this. Directive. Using directive? No.
And I guess I autocomplete some braces.
Yes, please. Fabulous. But this is still right? Because we have to give it the value 1.
And
No?
so we still need to we do have a constructor here. So we can, this is what we built last time. We can now decide if we call the default constructor, we need to set the required name via an object initializer, or we set it directly via the constructor. This is now which syntax you prefer, because we still need to give that using directive also a name.
So what's the difference? I mean,
there is no difference in behavior. It's just a difference in syntax. So I'll draw out both. So either we set we call it via the constructor. So we now invoke the constructor, or we do it via an object initializer. So we would need to say name equals identifier.
No.
So it's
First option is better.
But it's at one time it's the same behavior. It's a matter of style, more or less. Eventually it will be the same.
But this looks so much simpler. This is nice. Like this is I get it.
That's the way to go. But
Okay.
we still need to set that, because per default, into occurrences, since it's an integer, the default value is 0. We still need to set it to 1. Now we could either, because we do have this as internal set, we could either set it to 1 per default. We assume when a new using directive is created, it has the count 1. Or we set it via an object initializer, or have another constructor overload.
Oh my god, okay. I think if we set it like per default to 1, could that potentially like create problems later on where we sort of, I don't know, overlook it and then we suddenly have 2? Or I don't know.
It potentially could. However, since we wouldn't really have the set here is internal, so we wouldn't really break any usages of it. So we could later on maybe we add a new constructor. Adding is never bad. Adding is okay. Removing or changing something could cause breaking changes. So no, we wouldn't run into any problems. We can add this later. So for now, because this is our only user, when we later on see we use this somewhere else, and we now don't want this to have the default, then we can change it afterwards.
Okay. And would this stuff that I've written there work at all? Or is that completely wrong? And why is it completely wrong?
Let's find out. We do have unit tests for that.
No, but but like, because I already wrote one there. I already set kind of in my head.
This one.
In my head, that makes sense.
Yes, you know what? That perfectly would work. Yes.
Okay.
Because
then I would like it this way.
That perfectly works. No, hold on. Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, actually, it doesn't. Because if the try get value returns false,
Yeah.
then this one here will be null. So we will be now having
We
here a
don't
null
have.
reference exception.
Ah,
We would need, so what we could do is either set it per default, or we need to store this using directive as
yeah.
a local field here, and then have it in our local field set it to occurrence.
No, that's ugly. Okay, let's not do that. Let's get rid of this. And then oh my god. Like this. Phew. And let's put it into let's set it here. How did you do it? Just like
Just say equals to.
equals 2? Why 2?
So no, equal. So the equal character. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Okay.
equals to 1. So equal 1 is
I
what I
thought
meant.
no, I was gonna say I thought this. I thought this, and I was so confused. No,
Equals to
okay.
1. Yeah, my bad.
E-
Alter-
Equals 2, 1?
1. Yeah.
No. Okay. Like this?
And
Maybe this?
then yes, exactly.
Yes.
An alternative would be we could also set it in the constructor if you would prefer it. This is then basically the same. Because what constructors are doing,
That
so
might be actually nice. Yeah.
what constructors are doing is per default setting these property initializers, executing them per default. So basically going from top to bottom. Is it from top to bottom, or is it there is some order? And then setting these one by one to what we declare here. But it's, I guess, again, a matter of preference.
Okay. So that would just be like occurrences equals not 0, but 1.
1.
I like this. This is the best. This looks nice.
And
I'm happy with this. Is everyone else happy with this?
now
Yes. Good. Silent approval.
Timo is
Ooh.
not. Thanks so
Timo
much
is
for tuning in,
not.
by the way. On line 62, we have some very important keyword missing. I shuffled some code around, so this was here, and I think he knows exactly what. I think I know what he means. Do
God.
you know what he means? He gives a hint. It's the opposite of open.
Closed?
It's not closed though. It's not closed though, but sealed. Closed.
Sealed. Okay.
It's oh, did I? Oh no, I gave it away. Oh no. And what the sealed does is it prevents inheriting. So what I now can't do is like have a inheritor. We cannot inherit this class now because it says
Nice.
cannot derive from a sealed type.
Okay.
And since this is a public type, and we offer that type to some consumer, maybe we put this in the NuGet package later on. Other developers could derive from that, and maybe our type isn't really designed to be inherited, and then we could actually cause breaking changes to people who derive from that. If we realize later on,
they derive from that, it's their fault.
well, we made it public. We made it. It's so we gave it. It's our surface
but we
area.
didn't force them
It's
to.
a contract.
It's
a
good.
contract. So we said, here it is. Use it. Some people are claiming that it should actually be the default to make it sealed per default, so you can't inherit it. And then make it like inheritable or something, or unseal it. But yeah, I guess that's different design approaches.
Unseal it. I like that.
So let's also seal that one,
Yes.
because I'm always very careful with public types. If it's internal or private, it's an implementation detail. We can change it, no breaking changes. But especially if we put this in a NuGet package, and somebody depends on these details, this could cause issues. Do a little bit of cleanup, stuff that we don't need anymore. And I think let's give the test a run.
Okay.
And while they are running, Timo always thinks, Timo also thinks that indeed sealed should be the default. It is also way faster in execution time.
Interesting. How
come? It is, yes. It's if you there are several aspects to that. For example, if you put it into an array, lookups is it lookups or accessing that array is slightly faster, but also if you access members of this type, the runtime knows that nobody is inheriting from that type. So
Ah.
it can, because internally there is like every class has a method table, because a class is a reference type and has a method table, so it knows which members it has and needs to map it, because we could derive types and then override methods. And so at runtime, it depends on which instance this is at runtime. So that this then runtime behavior, and that is slightly faster, yeah, depending on the scenario.
Good. Are there any other classes we can seal in that case?
Well, we do our other public class is the counter, which is static, which cannot be inherited per definition because it cannot be instantiated.
Okay.
So currently no.
Fabulous. Good.
And so it's a good approach to per default make everything as private as possible, unless you have evidence that it needs to be public, and make it sealed per default unless you have evidence that you want this to be, it's designed to be inherited of.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, of course, we don't compile because we now need to update our usages. So what we now here have, this is no longer, we were assuming that we get a key value pair. So what we now get is the result. So this is now our using count result. And what we did last time, I think we have an occurrences property. However, again, I think this occurrences is not the best name. So I'm keen to call this also usings. And the usings now returns a collection of the values of this dictionary. So we get all of the using directives that now have both the name and also the count. So it's now each, again, well, this is now using directive. Each using directive now has the count, has the name and the count. And I guess this is now the benefit that we have. So we can now say using directive dot name and using directive dot occurrences. And this may read is more obvious than having using occurrence dot key and value, because it's the key value pair. So it's now a more typed typed approach. And to consumers, if we should make this ever NuGet package, to consumers more obvious what it is, and not just a combination of string and int. Combination of string and int could be anything.
Okay.
Now we're saying that's a using directive. This is a name. It has occurrences, and later on some flags.
I like it.
And now we need to fix the test as well, I'm afraid.
Yes. Oh my God. But the thing is, okay, so we've changed it so many times. So the count is the occurrences, correct?
The count is now the using count result, which as a collection has the occurrences.
Oh my God. Oh, we need to like create a quiz for next time. It's like, who can remember it? And I will definitely have the least points of everybody participating. Okay. No, wait. So we need to first go into the using directive. Is that right?
Well, so I
Using
called,
directive?
so this is called count. I will rename this into result.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have our result here as
and
a
then
start.
and then we have the result here. Okay. No,
And-
we have
and
the
since
result.
And now via IntelliSense and autocompletion, we should actually get a little bit of a hint what this type is capable of. So we should have hidden all the implementation details, but only offer what this type can do. So basically all we offer is only the usings collection.
Okay. And then do we?
And this is now I read only collection of the using directives. So we now need to make the using directives comparable. Okay, now there's two different options. So we could make this using directive. We could make this equatable. Or for now, we write our own little helper compare method that we then later on turn into something else, perhaps, if we see we need this at multiple places.
Let's make this comparable. What you said.
Equatable.
Equatable.
I used the wrong word. If it's comparable,
Oh.
then if it's comparable, then it basically has an order, which comes before which element. For example, if I would sort this dictionary, or if I would sort the collection with, if it's I comparable, then it gives meaning which instance comes before which instance. So we could say, like, if the name is starts with an A, that comes before a name that starts with a B. And if the occurrences are higher, then they come before the ones with a lower occurrence. But this is more of an ordering precedence kind of question. What we want to have check if it's equal or not.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is implement I equatable. This is a generic type where, again, we make this equatable of the using directive.
Mm-hmm.
It's of basically of itself. And now we need to implement some interfaces. And it's the equals interface, and that now returns Boolean. Boolean if it's equal, and as true if it's equal, and false if it's not. Would you like to implement that check?
Sure. It's check, so it sounds like a for loop. Is that no? No, it's okay. So wait, if it's an if situation, because if something is happening, ooh, it's actually saying something to me. It's saying, but this doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. That was autocomplete. That was not me.
If yeah,
If other is null, that makes no sense. Oh, this is other.
this is other. Yes.
Ah,
So if we call
I was
it,
like, where does other come from? Okay.
we pass in something else and check it against this instance. So if other is null, we can actually we are calling it on this instance, so we know that this instance isn't null. But if other is null, then we know this can't really be equal.
Then just return false.
Return false. It's not equal. Perfect.
Okay, easy. But if it is equal,
If it
so
if it isn't
if
null,
it is else, anyway, just else, just the other option. Okay, it's suggesting this.
Okay. So it checks if the name equals the other name. Yeah. But we
but
now
that's not.
only
Is that it?
compared the name. What about
Yeah.
that? Okay, that's not a question. Do we want our using directives? So what we also want to compare the occurrences in our case. So the occurrences are, if one test finds
Yeah.
system.collections, but we expect 7 occurrences, but only have actually 6, then this wouldn't be correct, would it?
No, it wouldn't be correct.
So in our case, we need to additionally also check if the occurrences match.
Okay. Can I just do like an and here? Is that no?
Most
Is that not
definitely.
possible? Really? Like this? No, wait. It's not doing it like this.
Yep, exactly like that.
Ooh, nice. Occurrences. Okay.
I'll do some formatting if you don't mind.
Yes.
And then it could something like this. So if the name is equal and also the occurrences are equal, then this indeed is equal. I would like to do one addition, because with string equality, there is an overload that has a string comparison enum. And this string comparison enum has some options. For example, using the current culture, this is the default. We could also use the current culture, but ignore the case. We could use the invariant culture, which I think, is that the English culture? I'm not sure if it matches the US English culture, or if it's some special culture. But the invariant culture is the same on every machine. The current culture may differ. I may have set my machine to German. You may have set it to British English, for example. So this, because a string in .NET, that per default, or with all the default methods, has some meaning of, not the string itself, but methods around string have most of the time some meaning of culture. Or we do the ordinal check, and that's more or less a byte check. So the raw data, there is no real meaning to that string, no culture at all, not even the invariant culture. So I prefer usually the ordinal comparison. But in our case, we don't want to ignore the case because C# is case sensitive. Therefore, I would go with just ordinal here.
Sounds good.
And now we have some sense to equality. In the meantime, Timo is asking, did you discuss last time around if transferring the verbatim string into a C# field and reading that into a string would make sense? I'm not sure if I get that right. Transferring the verbatim strings in a C# field, reading that into strings. I'm afraid I'm not sure what you mean. Could you clarify? And in the meantime, let's continue with the equality check.
Okay, so we've got an expected result, and we need to compare it to what we receive from this counter. And how do we do that? How does this? We've just made it. Can I just go? No, wait, I don't know.
Perhaps also because we now need to compare, because that's a collection. We now need to compare two collections. So our expected result now also should become this using what do we call it? Using I also forgot the name. Using count result. Yeah. And this should be a collection. So let's make an array out of, oops, this is totally wrong. What am I doing?
What?
So let's create a new array of using count results.
Okay.
And now we need to create what we expect. So basically change the system1 into a new, well, we don't need it because we could write new using count explicitly again and pass this in here. And maybe now it is a good time to add that constructor to also set the count, because what we would now need to do is basically setting the occurrences. Oh no, hold on, that's the result. Ooh, I'm thinking wrong. That's not the using count result, my bad. It's the using directive, this one. So, use the wrong type. And now we also need to set the occurrences, so we would need to write it like so.
But didn't we have it by default at 1?
Yes, but later on we have tests where we expect 2. How do we set it to 2? And we also have tests where we expect 3. How do we set it to 3? By default,
Can
1.
we just? But can we just put it then like here to be like 2?
Yes,
23?
but I guess now is the time. Maybe we German, English. now we do need maybe this additional overload of the constructor to make that easy.
Of course, because we only give the name here. We have to we can't pass in occurrences. That makes sense.
So
okay.
Quickly do that. We have here the occurrences and then set it.
Yes.
All right. We do have some duplicate code here, but we'll eliminate this later. Let's add a to do.
Do we still need the first one though? Do we still need this line in that case?
Yeah, actually we use it. We use it in our production code here.
Oh yes. There you go. Fabulous. Great.
And this is
short-term memory.
This is where tooling really helps. I'm not sure if you see it via live share on your end, but it says we have one reference to this code.
No, it doesn't say it on my end.
Okay. Then via live share it isn't transferred. You only get the code. Okay. And yeah, now we could have exactly that. And now I'm not entirely sure if that test would pass already. Let's give it a try.
That's right.
Okay, we first need to fix all the build errors. Great.
Okay.
I'll comment out everything for now, and if it works, then we start implementing it for the
Okay.
Then we use it for the other test as well.
Sounds good.
While that, Timo has clarified. I asked if it might be a good idea to write the verbatim strings like in line 36 and so on in the test into a separate, put it into a separate file. Yeah. So writing the C# code into a string, using the file with code, and then parsing it to a string during the test. So just did last time. You're an expert. Yeah.
Ah, I remember. Yeah.
So have we talked about this again? We actually haven't. We haven't talked with David about it, have we? I missed that opportunity. Ah. I'm afraid we haven't.
Did it pass? No, it failed.
Ooh, we have a null reference exception.
Ooh.
Let's see.
You
Let's
sounded
see.
excited there. I was
Let's
just
see.
like, the
Oh,
test
no,
failed.
it's so we know. So we know
You're
what
like,
we know where the problem is.
okay, do we? I mean,
So
of course,
we
yes, we do.
have the using. Okay, I totally. Is it? Yeah, I forgot to initialize the collection here.
How dare you?
Yeah. So what we need is a new.
Ah,
That should fix the problem.
okay.
This would have surfaced if we would have used nullable reference types. Maybe we come to that in the next. Maybe take a look at this episode, or maybe the next one, but soon, because this would be a compiler feature that would have prevented us from causing this error. Maybe we come to that afterwards. Let's see.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. I'd like that.
And yeah, so this works.
Okay.
That means we now can change all of our tests to create a using directive array and create. Actually, one last thing, since we declare the type here already, we don't need to explicitly declare it again. This is what the compiler can infer. So we can just write new like this, and this will work. So let's.
Okay. So I can do this. And then here.
And what
new.
I'm now also thinking, but this may be
Is that right?
overkill.
That's not right. It is right.
No, that's
It's not right. Do I have to not write it? Sorry, do I have to now write it for every single line here?
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
Perhaps multi-cursor edit.
Where's the multicursor?
Yes. What was it? Is in Visual Studio? Is it?
Oh.
I think it's Shift.
I think it's
If Shift Alt, then you can select like a section.
nice.
Or it's yes. Shift Alt. And if you do Control Alt, you can put them anywhere. And if it's Shift Alt, you can have like a
Oh my god.
span.
Sorry, what did you say?
So
I
you
was
can
playing
both
around.
use Control Alt and Shift Alt. And if you don't mind, I'll start from the bottom with factoring these.
Oh god, this is exciting. And we need our elevator music again.
So these are
I love this.
empty.
This is nice.
Count is now result. And we have the, what am I doing wrong? Yeah, result dot usings.
It doesn't work at the last bit because the braces sort of
Let me
close at
take a look.
different lines. Ah, but then I could have used the other way. Anyway, never mind. Great stuff. Fabulous.
Result.
Oops. God.
And for example, this is now this is one reason. So once we now have set this type, this is now really our contract. If we would change the contract, we also would need to change our tests. So this is why designing a public type is quite, it's worth taking the time.
Okay. I take a lot of time anyway, so I don't have a problem with that.
New Control Alt click. And what did I mess up? No,
Oh my
seems to
god.
work. Dot usings. Because this is why the .NET
Ah.
team is very, very careful about breaking changes to their public API. Because if our code now depends on how a dictionary looks and they like take away the try get value method, a lot of code on this planet would break. So this is why if something is once something is public, it's very difficult to change without breaking anybody.
Oh no, why did it not work? Okay.
Usings and cool. I'll do
No,
multi-editing
I'm.
from the other side and we meet at the middle. Okay, so we can in parallel multi-cursor edit the same lines. That's exciting.
That is exciting. That was really fun.
Sweet. Let's see if it compiles. It succeeds. And let's run the tests.
Good. Woo!
And
Everything
yes,
failed.
no.
Oh no,
Yes, our
everything
globalizer tests
passed. Oh
because they
god.
are so not implemented, but all of our tests are passing now.
Great.
Perfect.
Fabulous.
Perfect. Maybe now Timo got me thinking because what Timo was suggesting also like 2-3 streams ago to not have our code inline, but actually put them into a separate file. And if we have it in a file, it would be real C# code. And if there would be an error in our C# code, it would stop compiling. So I'm now wondering if we could have both to still have the inline thing, but also get errors. Our test fails if we have some invalid syntax. So like, let's introduce in one of the tests, maybe here, let's make an error. I do not write, I forget the semicolon here. Now this test should break, but it still passes. So how could we get that to break? In our compilation here, we get a project. And so what we now need to get is the compilation. I'm not sure where we can get it from. If we can get it from the solution, from the workspace, or from the project. Compilation, get compilation. Okay, so it seems to be on the project. Let's cache that project in a local variable. Get the compilation. There is only a compilation async. Okay, we would now need to make the create project also async. Perhaps we do this later. For now, I do something very bad and say dot result. Never do this at home. And I think this is something like an error. This is some compilation options, errors, result. Der diagnostics.
Oh.
Get diagnostics. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be an error. Diagnostic could also be an info or a warning. And now let's try to iterate through these. That's of course a for each.
Of course.
And we could get, perhaps let's do it like, how do we, let's see, if we have we only want the errors. So, okay, so we have here diagnostic. And if the diagnostic, I think the diagnostic has several properties, such as a location, where is this diagnostic reported, but also a severity. And the severity now is an enum, which could be hidden, info, warning, or error. So let's grab now all the errors, where the severity is error. And if it is, we could set it to a list. I now want to use some link for that, because link is very helpful with that. So what I'll do is get the diagnostics and then select, no, not select, but where, via a where filter, we can select all the diagnostics, which severity, basically moving this code into this lambda here. Maybe let's click on line break to put this into one line. And now this filters all the diagnostics which have the severity error. Now I would like to convert this to an array. So we have now errors. Where we now could say if those errors length is greater than 0. So if we have found any errors, then we could throw a new exception, like a, how would we best do that? Maybe we report all of them. So I'm now creating a, I guess that's a lot of code, but let's create a string builder. Because a string builder is very convenient if you don't know the length of the string that you want to create ahead of time, which we don't because that's variable here. So we have our text, and per error that we found, we can append a line to these errors. So let's put the error into the string builder. Then at the end, we can throw an exception, invalid operation exception, for example, and say, okay, I guess I need to string this, and put in the string builder into this exception. Does this somewhat make sense?
It somewhat makes sense. Yeah, totally.
And now I'm wondering if our test fails with a nice diagnostic that tells us why the C# code is invalid, I hope. Ooh, okay, it turns red.
Nice.
And it says that a semicolon is expected, and then, and then some follow-up problems. So let's fix it again. Let's re-add the semicolon, and now it should pass. But it doesn't.
Did you save though?
Ooh, yeah, I did save.
Okay.
I did save. I think this is, I have now a déjà vu. I think this is what David suggested us in our last session, in 2 sessions ago.
2 sessions ago.
Well, before coming back to that, Timo is writing holy JIT. He means the just-in-time compiler. What does the static keyword do in the where filter? Is this new to me? Holy moly. This is a newer C# feature. Well, is it? I don't know. Is it C# 10 or C# 9? I always forget. So previously you couldn't have static in this lambda. A lambda is an anonymous function basically. And previously you couldn't have static here. This wasn't allowed. But with the static, you can actually prevent something like capturing. So what I can't use, because this is static, I can't use anything from within this method. So for example, I can't say project, I know, I'm just doing something if this project is not null. So this doesn't work because the static anonymous function cannot contain a reference to project. And previously, it was because if it's not static, I can capture variables that are in scope. It's the same method, so that works. But I like to use the static in order to prevent capturing. I want this to be something very independent. And yeah, exactly. Timo writes it. It avoids closures to capture, because if we use a local variable within a lambda, behind the scenes in .NET, it actually creates a closure, so that also allocates some memory, so it has a very small but still not available, but still the performance impact that's still there. But our test is still failing because what David told us last time, or in the sessions ago, I think it was this. He told us that per default, our projects do not reference anything. So we don't have the BCL. That means we don't even have the system namespace available. So this is why it's not found. And we need to reference these assemblies. So let's actually do that. I think that was this NuGet package. So let's add this NuGet package to the tests. I'm going to the NuGet package explorer from Visual Studio, browsing this package. We could install, yeah, this is what David said. There is like for all the various target frameworks, Net 7, Net 6, .NET Standard, all the different versions, or we use like the meta package, which contains all of them, but is rather large. Which one would you prefer? Should we use only one? And if we use only one, which one?
So wait, sorry. The basic one we can use on its own, or no?
Yes, we can. And this one basically contains everything.
I mean, that sounds quite good.
Okay, everything it is. And it's more or less just a test project, so we won't be publishing this. So the size, I guess, isn't that relevant. Our build time may be slightly slower, but we can always optimize later on. And okay, because this is exactly what David told us here. And now we should be able to add to our project this reference, or this, I'm not sure how this is called, so let's have a look. If we have our, how do we, I think we now need to say project dot add metadata, I think. Add metadata references. And now I totally don't know how this package, which namespace the package has. So what I'll be doing, I'm again going back to the NuGet Package Explorer. Now it's installed. We can go to NuGet here and then go to the source repository and hope that there is some example, a little bit of documentation. And there it is. Did it say here? Ah, there it is. So we say reference assemblies dot. Save reference assemblies dot. Okay, and there we go already. Which one do we want to use? We have Net Standard 2.0, Net 6, or Net 7.2.
What? Net 472, is that right?
Net 472, yeah, that's .NET Framework.
Okay.
.NET 6 and .NET Standard 2.0. Okay, I think this is what the meta package includes. So it obviously doesn't contain .NET 7 if we were want to use that. I think in our case, .NET Standard is sufficient.
Okay.
So I'd like to go with .NET Standard. And again, since everything is mutable, we also get a warning. We are not using the return value. So we need to set the current project to that because of immutability. And let's run the test. It's maybe passing now. I hope.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, because
Everything red.
one more error. The program does not contain a static main method for an entry point. Because I think per default, this project is compiled as an exe or as an executable file. And every executable file needs a main method. Such as our program has a main method because it's an executable. What we basically state here. It's executable, it needs a main method. That's our entry point. But here we don't really have an entry point. We don't run this code. So I actually don't want to compile it as an exe, which is the default, but as a library. And now I'm wondering how this works. I think something like we are compilation options or something. So we are the project. There are some, is it compilation options? I'm not sure though. And the compilation options have, I guess I need to check the C# compilation options. So if we say with compilation options, we create new C# compilation options. And I'm not sure, maybe this type now has a constructor, I hope. Oh, there is a create method, which has an... No, that's the C# compilation. I wanted to have the C# compilation options. Sorry, my bad. There we go. And, there it is, the output kind. And the output kind now is an enum. Where per default, it's a console application, because we a Windows application, or I guess what we want for simplicity, the dynamically linked library, a DLL. So let's pass the output kind of a dynamically linked library in here. Again, we get a warning because it's immutable. We need to set it. There we go. And this could now fix the test.
Wow, this is exciting. Dim,
It
dim, dim.
of course wants the dot. Woohoo!
Yay!
I have
Wow, that
I
was
have
intense.
I have never seen so many greens, not even on my plate. That's a self burn.
Amazing. Okay, good.
Cool.
Easy.
Thank you, Timo, for that idea. Because now we can confirm that the C# code that we write here is valid and not just something invalid, and then our counter wouldn't work because it's invalid.
Yep.
Awesome. What's
Okay.
next?
What's next? Good
I
question.
guess I also have a to do here. The workspace is iDisposable. Okay, so we can dispose the ad hoc workspace that implements workspace, or derives from workspace, which implements iDisposable. That means that we should actually in this method then at the end dispose. So we could either say workspace.dispose, or do you know an alternative way in C# that also does the dispose?
No.
And that's now, that's very similar to what we are doing. That's the using keyword. If you write using, because the using keyword has,
Yes. Yes, I remember. Very
the
good. We've
using
had that
keyword
before.
has, the using keyword has two different applications. Once for the disposables. So that means now, since we declare it here at the end of the method, which is then here after or just before the return, it will be disposed. And also we have the using for the using directives.
Good stuff.
Cool. And I think our tests are now pretty good. So let's go back to the counter user and see what's next up here. Next one would be, haha, that's a smaller one. Ignore the auto-generated documents and auto-generated code.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Um, okay.
Beforehand, we had a look at some documentation because or do we do nullable reference types first? Because I actually got
Yeah.
this documentation actually have from the nullable reference type. So perhaps let's enable nullable reference types.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Especially because we had that error just now. That would be good.
So let's go to the library and we kind of have it there. We said we come to it eventually. We always keep up with the promises. So let's enable the nullable reference types. And do you know the difference between a nullable value type and a
No.
non-nullable value type?
No. Well, one of them is nullable.
One of them is nullable. So in .NET, if we have a value type, that's like an int, we can have a nullable value type if I write int question mark. That means I could now also assign null
No.
to it. So that is valid. If it isn't nullable, if it is not nullable, then null is invalid because int,
Yeah,
it's a struct, that's a value type, and a value type always has a value.
but it could be 0, right?
It could be 0, yes, exactly, which is the default for integer 32 or an int. But it can never be null because it is not a reference type. A reference type could point to nothing. But a value type, if it would be nothing, then the value type wouldn't exist. So it always must have a value. But the thing now is, if we actually do write the int question mark, what the compiler does, it turns it because technically that's still not real. A value type cannot be null. Because what the compiler does is the int question mark is turned into a nullable of int null. So basically line 44 and line 45 are the same.
Well,
Now the int question mark is just a shorthand for writing that.
Okay. It's not the same though, because one is called B and one is called C.
You got me. Now it is.
Great. But now it has a it doesn't it has a red underline
Because we use the
because
same identifier twice, yeah.
okay, interesting.
Because now it's ambiguous. Which one do you mean?
Ah.
So we cannot declare, in the same scope, we cannot declare the same local, or in this,
Even though it's technically the same. Yeah, okay. I can't say the same thing twice. Fair enough.
I could reassign it. I could say B is now 1, and now B is null. But I cannot redeclare it. So
Yeah.
I could like say, okay, this is now a string. This doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Good. Fair enough.
But with reference
But
types,
no,
sorry, go
actually,
ahead.
one more thing. Because you said like int question mark is kind of the same as saying nullable of type int.
Yes,
So, like you're not reassigning it like a different type. You're literally saying the same thing twice with different syntax, right?
yes.
So,
So, but it's basically the same code. So if I write in code int question mark b, or
yeah.
if I write nullable of t, nullable of int b, that's the same. To the compiler, this is the same
Yeah. But you're
because
still
actually the
not allowed
compiler
to
turns.
say it twice.
Excuse me.
Can you write int b is something or like
No, because it's already declared it.
okay, but if you now uncomment, well, okay, wait, I'm gonna do it. Hey, I'm in
Oh
live
yeah,
share.
yeah. Go
I
ahead.
can do it. So this is now exactly the same. No, it's not because this is null and this is one, but this is now exactly the same thing twice. But I'm not allowed.
Yes, because you would redeclare. You would declare another local because assigning on because it's a value type, so that's on the stack. You would assign a new value to that stack, but you give it the same identifier. Now we basically would lose which now when I write B, which one do I mean? That's ambiguous now. Which B do I mean? The first B or the second B?
Both.
And this is or both. And this is why this isn't allowed because it would
Okay, fair
become
enough.
ambiguous.
Okay, silly compiler. It's the same thing. Just realize that and use B. Come on. Yeah. A human would know what to do, though. There you go.
Yes, stupid machine, I guess. Oh no, we must praise the machine. Yeah, yeah.
Praise the machine. Fabulous. Okay, sorry. Yes, let's continue. These are my little
Yeah,
side notes.
that's what we're here for. But with reference types, that doesn't really. So what we now get, since we now set the compiler or set the CS project to enable nullable reference types, what we now can write is string question mark. It basically enables that. We can now write string question mark. No, actually, okay. I now get the warning here because I didn't enable this for this project. So again, if I would go ahead to this project and uncomment it here as well, now the compiler warning will go away. We still just have the warning that the text isn't used. So let's use it. And now we can basically have a question mark here. And string, that's a reference type, that's a class. Because now, but what was possible before, we could also have a none or have just string and also assign this to null, called text1 and text2. And this is compiling. What we do now, however, get is a compiler warning that I try to assign null to a reference type that I haven't annotated with the question mark. However, this is just a compiler warning. I can run this code. I can, if I would know how to run, from this, there it is, start. Now the
Woo!
console opens here, and we still get
Nice.
our to code or not to code, and the application actually runs. That's not a compiler error. If I would do the same with integer and try to assign null to an integer, that wouldn't compile. So from a one-time perspective, nothing has changed. The nullable reference types feature, the question mark, is basically just allowing warnings to appear if we try to assign null to something that we don't want to be null. It's legal because a reference type it's a reference. It can point to nothing if that's the default. And if we would now dereference, and this is now the power of this feature, if we try to dereference the text now, and let's say I want to get the length of it, I now get a compiler warning. Not an error, but a warning that it says dereference of a possibly null reference. It's possibly null. Somebody could set it, but it could be null. And if we now go to our code that we wrote where we actually had the null reference exception to our counter, because what we do have, this try get value is annotated with this maybe null when. I'm not going to all too much detail. This is because of generics. But actually what we do now have a compiler warning here is I need to write question mark here. But the cool thing is the compiler knows we don't get a warning here because due to this attribute, which says, okay, now I'm actually going into detail. If we return,
Nice.
if this returns false, then whatever is outed here may be null. So that means if we would invert that statement and now write an exclamation mark here, now we get a compiler warning. Because if false, this could be null. So if try get value returns false, we negate it here. That means we get here, and now the compiler knows this could be null, and we're now possibly referencing something that is null, which will cause a null reference exception. And basically, this is what the feature is all about, to protect us from null reference exception, exactly the one that we had previously. So if I now actually go ahead and remove the new that I had earlier, we now get a compiler warning that says, hey, the non-nullable field usings must contain a non-nullable value when exiting the constructor. So I could fix it by making this nullable. The warning goes away, but we now have the warning here. And this is exactly where we crashed. This is exactly where we crashed. And another compiler basically forces, well, it's not a force, because it's a warning. We could turn warnings into errors. Then we must now actually initialize it. And this is, with this, by just enabling this flag in the CS project file, we could have avoided this null reference exception previously. And it's now very, very likely that we are avoiding all null reference exceptions that we will have in the future in this R project.
Nice. Good job.
And I am so happy to put this message on. Matt Koch is here. Servus, habe die Ehre, Gschaffstadina. We are so happy that you joined.
All the good phrases. Welcome. Glad you could join us.
Cool. That's nullable reference types.
Yes.
And I think now it's time to ignore auto-generated documents and auto-generated code.
Okay.
And this is where now the nullable reference types in documentation comes in, because this is the location where I actually first time got called attention to how can I annotate generated code. So we could either have a comment on the top of the file that says either this or that, or the file name starts with temporary generated file underscore, or it ends with any of these. And I guess now it's time for us to write tests that prevent those three cases.
Yes, fabulous.
So let's jump to our tests. Oh, it doesn't open. Then let's go there manually. I'll scroll to the end and insert what we have from the Microsoft documentation. And I guess let's get started.
Okay, fabulous. As always, I'll just copy paste the previous test. This time a little bit quicker than last time. Is that the wrong test to copy?
Maybe let's use a maybe let's copy the very first one, because that's the simplest.
It just
test something with using, yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I learned something from last time. Anybody who was here last time knows what I'm talking about. This took me about 10 minutes last time. But look at that. Wait, let's not jinx it. Oh my God, I did it. Done. No, okay. And as always, naming is the worst thing about this. Okay, so we still have the count. That's the first bit is um the first bit is the um was it method, right?
The method under test, yes.
The second one is the scenario, which is um, auto-generated generated files, something like
Maybe
that.
would you mind calling it documents? Because that's like the Roslin speak.
Yes,
I like
documents.
the Roslin lingo.
Finds one. Let's keep it with finds one, but maybe it finds more than one. Is that good? Would that be good?
Or shouldn't we ignore them? It doesn't also find none.
Ah,
Or ignores,
ignores.
ignores, just ignores. Also, yeah. Or ignores using.
Ignores it.
Perfect.
No, no. I think ignores is fine. I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think. Okay, then we have a project. We create a new project, and then we want the file. Wait, so okay, let's see what you put in there. So either
Would you like to start with the comment or would you like to start with the file names? I would say with the file names are
I
potentially easier to start with.
really okay.
I
How are
think so,
they
yeah.
easier? I
Because we
don't
just
know.
need to get the name of the document and see if it starts or ends with that. To get the comment, which is trivia, out of a Roslyn tree, I haven't done this yet, so this maybe that's trivial.
Okay. Um. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Are we doing the temporary generated file at the beginning, or all the endings, or all of them together?
We could have them in. Would you like to have one test each, or do we put it? We could also have it in one test where we ignore all the auto-generated. We
Let's
can do it
put
in
it
one
in
test, yeah.
one test. But sort of okay. But how do I do that?
I guess now we need to introduce a file name to our
Yeah.
create projects. So additionally to our string, we also need to pass a file name. How best do we do that? Because currently the signature I'm going to the create project takes a param string of documents, but it now needs to take also a string for the name. So what we could do is I'll just add a new method, a new overload that takes a value tuple of string and string.
And we've got the params keyword. Right?
And we also have the params keyword, yeah. So
Oh,
we could start with that. And now
yeah.
instead of
But
basic,
it doesn't compile.
oh no, yeah, because we don't return anything. Let's return null. No, it does compile.
Okay. Great. Okay, fabulous. So it would be something wait, starting with this. And then afterwards the file? Does that make sense? Or is that two files? That's two files, isn't it? Or two projects.
Yes, but we're now passing basically tuples, and so we can now pass multiples in these parentheses. We can now pass multiple tuples.
Ah,
Yeah,
so like this, right? No? And this is then the actual file stuff.
file stuff. Yeah. so perhaps, so perhaps I'll try something. Maybe we can. What I'm thinking, if we could format this in like one line per document. So let's have trying something here. If we do it like this, not with the, because we just have one liner, so we don't need the raw string literals in this case.
Oh.
And we could have it like, and now putting this into parentheses like so. And now we could basically keep going and just add, we'll just copy this, and now add another one, and another one, and another one.
That sounds good. And we because we need the endings as well. We need. Should we use a different name then for this?
Yep.
what is that? File 1, and then this, right?
Then I call this up here file 1 as well, .cs. So we have a file 1 because it leads with that, yeah.
See, I would now call this file 2 though.
Then we call it file 2.
Okay, wait, let me just copy this as well for the next one, because we still have a few, right?
Oops, I'm at the comma.
And then we need the,
Oops.
so what do we have with the dots? C
So we have the designer, now it's the generated .cs.
generated.cs, yes. Okay. Yo, no, that doesn't work. Okay, but is this, okay, file 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is file 3. Oh my God.
Also, I think if you want to duplicate a line, you can put your cursor anywhere. And I was about to say click, type Control D for duplicate.
Okay. So we've got g.cs. And then we do.
Remove the generated. I just removed the generated because it's, yeah.
Okay. What was it? Control D.
Yes. No. Perfect.
Yes. Okay. And oh my God, what's this? G.I.cs. Fabulous.
I totally forgot what the I is for.
Okay. This goes away. Yes. Okay. And then we have an expected result, which is a new using directive thingy. And we want to ignore, no, with a yes, we want to ignore absolutely everything. So is that just empty?
Just an empty, actually an empty dictionary here. Yeah, because we're not trying to set one element and we are not setting the required members here.
Yeah.
But so we just want to have an empty collection, yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. Looks good.
Matko is writing, control click with left mouse button and D with right mouse button. I'm not sure what they mean.
Just do it. Probably deletes everything and then it was likely a good prank. That's the thing, you could just write anything there. Control A, delete. I was like, what's that?
Format C. Yes, that will work, promise. Trust me. I'm afraid. So what's the I for? I don't know. Maybe let's take a gander at a little bit off screen. So where were we? Yeah, I guess now we need to run the test.
Yes.
And see if we are failing as expected. And we are. Because we again have a null reference exception. No. Where though? Ah, yes, because I return null here. Yeah, this is very naive. Let's implement this create project here. So we have both a string and a document. I will now, what I'm keen to do is basically copy that. No, move that down here. Take all of the implementation, move it to the other method because this method is more specific because it also passes a file name. And we could now invoke here this method by, again, using a little bit of link. So we can say documents.select. And now we want to give all of them a new file name. So we could say, we have a document. Oops, what am I doing? We have a document and we want to have a new value tuple with that. Previously for the document we used test documents. So I'll grab that, enter this here, and the second will be the document. So it's actually not a document, it's actually really the text of the document. And then to array this thing. And this may compile. Okay. And down here we now need to, our documents now are a string value tuple.
Can you just write blah? Yeah.
So now the document has that's now basically two items. So the item 1 and item 2. Well, this is not the best name, so perhaps let's give it a name. We have here, the first one is the name, and the second one is the text. That means we can now use name and text here, so this should be more,
Readable.
yeah. So we pass in document ID, we pass in the name, we pass in the text, and this could work. Let's see. At least we should no longer have the null reference exception. I obviously also haven't enabled null reference type in the test project. And
oh no.
it is,
Fail.
yes, because we expected an empty collection, but
Okay.
we found something. So that's as expected. We need to implement the, so
yes.
that's good. As
That's
expected.
good.
And we have some tools. I can remember something like this is. Oh, I'm showing our viewers are helping us with what the I stands in generated.i.cs. Let's go to the test. Why does the double click here not work?
That's strange.
Oh, so it's up there. So what does the I here stand for? Is it something from WPF? Because it seems to always generate the I files. Oops. Timo recalls that the meta info for IntelliSense could be totally off. So it may be something with IntelliSense. And Matkoch is writing that the G in G.I.cs stands for generated, and the I stands for initialized component.
Wow.
And Matkoch found it out with ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Nice.
Thank you very much for hunting that down. So that's the initialized component. I guess, is this WPF or is this WinForms? Maybe WPF.
What's WPF?
The Windows Presentation Foundation. So that's an UI. That's a .NET framework. It's also available in .NET Core now, but a Windows-only .NET UI framework. For example, Visual Studio that I'm using here is written in WPF. It's actually a .NET application.
Oh.
Based on .NET Framework,
Interesting.
so the Windows-only implementation of .NET, not the more modern .NET Core, which is cross-platform, but still, it's .NET and C#. Cool, and now we need to implement that. Now for the real fun.
Yes.
So how can we find out? Ooh, we get some, we have some nullable warnings here, but let's take care of them later. Maybe we should also enable warnings as errors that we don't miss them, but let's come to that afterwards. So we now need to find out if that document starts with either, I'm pasting in the comment here again, with either of these names. If you would like to give that a try.
Yes. Fabulous. Okay. Wait. Okay. So we get the project in. We have to using conversation, and then we go through each document, and we check if it starts with this and that, right? Okay. So up here, yes, I suppose that's ooh, no, this is not. Wait, let me just do something. Okay, this was autocomplete. I like to press autocomplete and then see if it's useful. But in this case, that's not what I want.
Let's actually see.
But it might be help with the nullable.
So we don't, but we actually don't, because not with that one, because the document here is not annotated as nullable. So we actually know here that this document, the document itself isn't null. So this is why we can now safely omit the null check.
Omit the null check. Let's get rid of it. But can we sort of have like a document starts with or something? Is that
I don't think that really exists, but maybe there is a property that we can take a look at and do the start Swift on there.
Okay. Property, like the name. No.
Yes. Exactly the name. That looks promising.
Great.
I'm actually not sure if that includes then the entire path or really just the very name and not the entire directory path. But I guess we will find that out in integration tests that we'll do later.
Starts with, and then is that something like that? Would that make sense? No. Yes, probably yes, because we need this.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. And then there's one.
Let's start with that and see if we. So does our test? Let's see if the test actually prints in. No, it doesn't print in the number. So yeah, no, let's do the rest as well. Sorry.
I mean, could we not just do like the pipes, like or this or that or whatnot,
Yep.
and just put it all in one line? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Great. Pipe, 2 pipes.
Oh, hold on.
1 pipe, 2 pipes.
No,
3
we can't.
pipes?
Sorry. So, well, it depends. I think I'm not mixed. Never mind. Go on. Yes, we do need the or. We do need the or operator. Yeah.
Do we need it here though, or do we need it here?
Within the if we want to have it in one if check, then we need it in here. Yeah.
So, is there a difference, and what is the difference between 1 pipe, 2 pipes, and the little roof thing?
Let's come to that
later.
After we.
What are we using now, though?
Statement. Basically, well, I guess the opposite of starts with for the for the others. So I think this is we again need to start with the document here.
No, I didn't mean to do that.
Documentation I think what you wrote here, we need this later.
Really?
Potentially, yeah. That's a comment trivia that we need that to find out if it starts with what's it called? Auto-generated.
Okay. Ends with. Okay, but do I have to write that every single time, or can I just go ends with this, or
I'm afraid no.
this or that?
There is no method. Well, we could write our own method that basically hides that.
No.
But there isn't anything for out of the box.
Okay, fabulous. Never mind. I'm very good at copy pasting anyway, and so super fast. So I'm sure our viewers will love.
Well, we can make it. We can make it a little bit simpler.
No.
If we. No? Okay, then not.
Yes. No. How is it simpler?
If we do a little bit of formatting, if we put it like this, and then we can just do a Control D to duplicate like the previous line.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I mean.
Yes. And just how many do we need? 4? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
4. Yes.
If you don't mind, I start from the bottom. Yes. Cool.
Easy.
And degenerates. Okay, then we need to close that. And what do we do if we find anything that starts with or ends with?
Just skip it. Just don't count it.
Do you know how we skip it to the next one?
Continue or something?
Excellent. Yes.
Continue. Yay.
Do you know what the difference to break is?
Yes.
What does the break do?
Break goes out of the for each loop, right?
Exactly.
No. Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. Fabulous.
Sweet. Let's run the test. And see it become green. And it comes green. Excellent. Woo! Well done.
I'm very proud of myself, actually.
So what's the difference between having just one or as having just one pipe character over 2 pipe characters? That also applies to a single end and a double end. If we have 2 of these, those are the conditional operators. So we have the conditional or and the conditional and they only get executed if the output of that condition could change, which conversely means that the singular ones, they are unconditional. They are always executed. So basically, if we would like it only with singles, then every time all of those five methods, the starts with, the ends with, the ends with, the ends with, and the ends with, are always executed, regardless of whether the first one already is true, which would turn this entire OR combination into true, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore subsequent trues. So for the first test where we come in with the temporary generated file, this is true, and since we OR combine it, the others have no influence to the result anymore. So basically, we are wasting time. We are wasting
Yeah.
precious processor power for something where we know the result already because we OR combined it. And if we use they're also called short circuiting, or technically speaking, conditional OR operators. They basically abort if the result is already known. So if the first one is true, then whatever comes afterwards, it will be true anyway, and therefore we only execute, well, we always execute the starts with, but the other ones may be executed, not necessarily. And I guess now we still need to fix some nullable reference types problems.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have, what could happen if, because that get syntax root async is actually, we have a question mark here. So the Roslyn team has annotated all their library. They also have enabled nullable reference types so that we get now a nice data to experience. And it says it will return null if supports syntax tree returns false. Well, for our test, this is quite unlikely, but what if we have, this could fail if we are in, if we have a, if we use it in with other projects, like the actual tool where we use the MS Build project. So this could technically fail. So let's check if the syntax root, no, it's not, it's a document. If the document does not support the syntax tree, then we could throw a, what do we throw? Not supported exception. And say something like, maybe name of document, then we put in the name of the document does not support syntax tree. Let's have a look at this documentation that I get this right. If the document supports providing data through the syntax tree, does not support providing a syntax tree. So we basically now, okay, in order to get rid of the warning, we need to put a question mark here because that returns the question mark. But now this is dangerous. But we basically check it here. If we support syntax tree, then we know this is not null and can therefore basically suppress the check here. So I'm writing an exclamation point. And
I've never seen that. That's really cool.
if I write an exclamation point, again, that has two different meanings for Boolean. If you write Boolean exclamation mark true, it's inverting the Boolean, so this is false.
Yeah.
But if we have it at the end, it is the null forgiving operator, also called the damn it operator. I think
I love that.
John Skeet has coined this term because I don't want this warning, damn it. So it suppresses because we have code in place that ensures that it's not null, so we can suppress the warning here. And we have no more, there is another warning because we have some nullability wrong here, I guess. What's the problem here? Nullability reference type other. Okay. So equals actually, this needs to be, because if we have a look at the interface, the IA quotable interface that we implemented earlier, the T is actually nullable. So we need to set the question mark here. And now what you did initially was was correct because we need to check for null. If we wouldn't do this check for null, if we would just basically have this one, we now get a warning here because other could be null and we could run into a null reference exception. So what I did earlier was very foresightful, if that is
Yeah.
English.
Thank you. It was autocomplete, but I auto-completed it.
Perhaps the exclamation point is also called the Cartman operator because of damn it, kitty. I'm afraid I now embarrass myself. I don't know that South Park episode. Do you?
No, but I've
No.
heard it before. So I think, like I've seen it on TikTok or something. I very rarely know like the whole episodes of quite a few like pop culture TV shows. I know like the references because of TikTok or like memes or like Reddit. Yeah, but I've never, yeah. That's the thing, like I've never seen Friends, but I know a lot of
Okay.
like memes and quotes and stuff, like a lot.
I used to
Yeah,
watch this a lot. Oh, good old times.
back in the days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't have Waslin at that time, so no, it couldn't have been that great times now.
true. Sad days.
I guess speaking of sadness, I guess what makes me sad. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but
What makes you
what we
sad?
what we also mentioned
Share
previously
with
is
us.
that per default, string operations have some sense of culture awareness. And I would like
Ah,
to not
yes.
apply this culture awareness here. So let's have a look at the starts with. That also has an overload. Here's exactly what we see with the default. Oops, why do I
Yeah.
zoom in so bad? So the default starts with actually calls the other starts with overload that takes a string comparison with the current culture. But our file names, they aren't really culture aware. We don't like if we don't care about the German scharf S or double S or some things, so we can omit them and use direct list overload and use, if you recall correctly, which string comparison mode
The
is a good default.
ordinal.
Yes. Not ordinal ignore case because obviously this looks very case sensitive. So let's do the ordinal and let's use this for the others as well. Multicursor edit, was it Control Alt? Yes.
Yes. Nice.
And let's give the tests a run again. Oops, let's not live share Test Explorer. And everything is still green. Cool.
Amazing.
Now comes the fun part. The comments.
Yep. Do we still have time for that?
At least we could start with it and see
Let's
how
do
far we
it.
get.
Okay. Well, since I'm just asking, as you said, that you've never done, you don't really know. I don't know.
It's unlikely we finish it, yeah. Do we
Okay.
want to put a separate test or do we do it in the same? I'm not sure how you prefer.
Good question. Let's do it. Should we do it? What do our viewers say? I'm kind of because it is like quite different thing. Is it quite different or is it quite
One
simple?
is, now we don't care about, well, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, let's put it
Well,
in
it's
the
about
same one.
auto-generated, but one is about a document, one is about the content. Nah, I'm
I mean, the thing is, since I am
indecisive.
really bad at copy pasting, as we've sort of seen, especially in the previous episode. I think we should put it in the same test just to save everyone that embarrassment, particularly me. So let's do that. So wait, we've got a file name, and this is then inside the file. No, yes, yes.
Yep.
So inside the file, put this or that at the top of the file. Okay. So can I just put this? No, probably not. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's go.
So not the entire thing, but just let's use one with the auto-generated.
But why not both? Wouldn't
And now thinking about it, now I think maybe it is better to put it in a separate test if you don't mind.
okay.
I obviously change my mind all the time. I again copy the first one.
But you know what happens when you do a new test? You have to name it, right?
That's right. I
So,
copy the first one and call it auto-generated. Well, one is auto-generated documents and that is auto-generated text. Woohoo!
ooh, nice.
Because you
Okay,
don't care about the file name now, yeah.
no, don't care about anything. Okay, wait. I'm just gonna copy the first two. Nah, maybe just the first file, and then we can sort of like duplicate. That sounds good. Where am I? Here. What's this? What's going on? Okay, this. Yes, that looks good. I'm
Also, no,
confident.
we don't need a
No,
file name.
we do
We
need a.
don't need the
We
file names.
don't.
No, because we now this is not about the file name, it's about the content of the file. So we don't care about the file name.
Right. But then we still need these three, right?
Yeah, because this is where I wanted to go at, because we can now easily like add a new line here and add this comment.
Yes. Add a new line and add this comment.
And add as a comment.
Okay, but okay, wait. As a comment? No.
Yes. And
Yes.
if you don't mind, I'll copy that line. Have another one here. And I guess use the first one here and use the other one there. And I guess this would be a good start. I think there is much more to it, because we could write comments also like we are the stars. We could have it like this.
Yeah, I thought
Because
they belonged together actually. But
because like, oh no, it's either that or that.
okay.
So one of these have to. But there is more ways of how to write a comment. But let's start with the simple one, and we can always, because I think that's something else later on, the multi-line comment. But this is just for future note. And now we need to want to
Why?
test and
Okay.
excuse me.
But we could already put it in here. We could put it in the second thing. Could have the second thing go like this. No?
I would have this as a separate one. Well, we could add just another one, and well, we could do it immediately. So let's add
Do it
both of
immediately.
them. Well, let's add both of them again, and then use a multi-line comment.
Yes. Can I just do this? Yes. Sounds good. Sounds good. Looks good. Fabulous. Comma. This. That. Did that work? Does that work? That doesn't work.
Yep, I just wanted
Almost.
it like so
Okay.
that it's a bit denser.
Okay, and that's like thingy star and how do you close it? Star thingy or
Exactly.
Oh my god. This looks weird. This looks very weird.
I think there is a syntax error here. Yes.
Oh yes,
think
there is. Okay.
perfect.
Yay.
Okay, cool. And now I guess we get 4 system usings, but actually would expect just 0. Okay, so we do get something. Maybe we could improve the type later on to also say, oh, it says 4 systems.
Yeah, but the occurrence, there was an occurrence.
There was an
Right?
occurrence. Yes, there shouldn't. So well, we could.
But the
maybe we could,
occurrence is 4 or something, but I didn't see it.
yes, but we shouldn't have any occurrences.
Yeah.
Does it show maybe in here? No, that's
Yeah.
that's cut
not
off
pretty.
by what's it called? XUnit. Well, maybe we could have our own. Maybe it would work if we have our own toString. We could. Would this work? Could we make it prettier if we have our own toString? If we override of this method, the toString, basically format this type to something. So if we say, how would we format it? Like maybe using the name colon occurrences. Maybe this, because I think the output, the toString is used for that output. Maybe that gives, but I'm not sure. Maybe that gives a bit of a, yeah, okay, cool. There we go. That may be a little bit more readable. So we now have we expected empty, but we got system with 4.
Nice. That's good. Cool. I like it.
And now it's time we have 5 more minutes. So let's see how far we get.
Yes. Let's see.
Okay, I am. How do we start? So we need again. That's I guess on the document level. Is it on a document level? So we get here the compilation unit. I guess my first move is go to Sharplab and see how this looks like. So if we add an auto-generated comment on top, it must look like this. Then how does the syntax tree look like? We have a using directive. This using directive has a name. Hold on, where is it? Oh, there it is. So it's on the, there is a trivia, but it's it's on the using directive. We have a, I think that's a leading trivia, because the trivias can be both leading and trailing on the nodes, which has here the single line comment trivia. So we need to find that very first single line comment trivia. And I am not 100% sure how to go about that. So let's have a look in here. We can set a breakpoint and run the test and see where we land. We have here our compilation unit, which is also a syntax root. And we do see in the syntax tree, can we maybe get this? Not sure if we call something like descendant nodes. The first node is actually the using syntax. How do we? But it doesn't necessarily need to be a using syntax. It could be anything. So does it mean we need to go into the first node and check if this, maybe this Boolean is helpful. Has leading trivia.
Ooh.
And if the first node has leading trivia, maybe there's a way how we get the leading trivia out of that node and then and then abort the continue again, I guess. Maybe before. Yes, so where should we do that? I guess in here, when you get a syntax root, here now we need to check if the first node of the syntax of the compilation unit has a leading trivia. Would you like to give it a try?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So if
My English is leaving me.
right. If what you said, the compilation unit? No. Compilation unit.
I need to get the first node.
First.
I'm not
Find
sure if
node?
there is.
First,
I'm now wondering if this has some. We could get the. Well, we could say children. We could get the first child. Maybe we can say children.first or something.
Children.
But does it have children?
It's not. No, it's child nodes.
Child nodes. Yeah.
Yes.
Child nodes.
Dot.
What's child nodes? Child nodes is an I enumerable. Yeah, so we could call first on that.
First? It doesn't tell me anything, so I hope that works. Does that one work?
It should. Maybe we are messing the link using. I guess we are using. Oh no! Oh, child nodes is a method. Sorry. There we go. No, it should.
Ooh.
I thought it was a property.
Okay. First, and then what was the thing you found?
Check if it has leading trivia.
Leading trivia. Leading. Ooh, there's get leading trivia or has leading trivia.
Let's first check if it has leading trivia. And I guess actually from a test point of view, because we don't have any other test, that could maybe already suffice to get everything green.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Let's try. Should we try? Should we save? Should we try?
What do we do if it has leading trivia?
Okay. Wait. Did I? Okay. Perfect. No. One thing. Here. Okay. If it has this, then we should continue. Continue.
Perfect. Let's give the test a go, and it could turn green already. It does.
Oh my
It
god!
does.
That was so easy. I love it.
However, what if I was adding...
Uh-oh.
Should we add it in here?
Never
this was way
trust a
too
green
easy.
test.
This was way too easy.
Yeah.
We established this. Was this in the second? When did we establish that?
I don't know.
What if we have something which is not? I just write auto-generated like such,
Ooh.
and I think
Uh-oh.
this doesn't apply to those rules.
Yep.
And now what I would expect is that we have one using directive that is system. And I wonder if that test fails now.
Yeah, it probably will. Oh no.
And I guess now it's time to grab that
Yeah.
trivia and inspect it and further.
But so how do we grab it though? Can we just? But because there was a get leading trivia.
Yeah, that sounds very
So
promising. Let's
can we
give that a
put
try.
an and? Is that good?
Not sure what you mean.
Well, just put. Oh no.
Okay.
Has leading trivia, and leading trivia is being silly.
I'm wondering, can we do? Well, what I would do
Should we
is
do like a for each leading trivia in the top of the file? Is it this one? No.
Now let's get a hold of the first one.
Because we have the first.
Yeah. What I will do now is put this into a local variable.
Okay.
Let's call it first. Well, first node. And try to get a hold of the trivia.
Okay, will do. First node. Get leading trivia something. Yes. That's probably a method.
And this returns a syntax trivia list. Okay, now I'm really totally uncertain how this looks like. I'll do some debugging. Let's see if we can inspect what that syntax trivia list holds. Maybe it has just, well, let's have a look. So it has two entries, where the first entry is an end of line trivia, so a return statement, and the first one is a single line comment trivia. So we could check if the first one is a single line comment trivia, and if it is, get a hold of the single line comment trivia and check if maybe the text. How do we then now? We just do the overlaps here, but I guess getting a hold of the text and check if it is / auto generated.
Okay, single line trivia. You said. So.
Yep.
Oh god, what happened?
Oops, I pressed one button too much.
Okay. I got confused. Okay, so if this, right? No.
Let me have a look.
Bad.
This is okay.
If
Not just
no, that doesn't work.
No, let's get a hold of the leading trivia. So we store that in a field. Now we have our syntax trivia list. Okay. Ooh. And let's check if the first element
this of the syntax trivia list told me to do.
Okay.
Well, is that helpful?
If any, but I guess we really want to check the first one.
Yes. Okay.
Of that list.
Fabulous. If list dot.
This maybe I think this is an indexer. Does it?
First.
Because
where's first?
We could say. Does it have first? or because
Yeah.
it's an I-read-only. But it's also an I-read-only list, so it also has an indexer. So we could use an array indexer.
Okay.
And I guess
What is
that's more
that?
preferable if we have, if we know it's. So we basically say like 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 you would. It is not an array, but via that indexer you could access it
Mm,
if it was an array. Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And that's probably 0. Ooh. So it's suggesting this, and
As
it's,
trading trivia, yeah,
but it's not what we want. Okay,
no.
fabulous. No, what was it?
What what
Single
does so we need to
line
check if that
trivia.
is a single line trivia. Yeah, so we can now do a type
Ah,
check,
and
basically via is single line trivia.
what is single line?
So
That's not, that
basically
doesn't exist.
having white, so
Or
white
like
is
this.
no
Or
no
like
like the word is,
is
and then enter the type single line comment trivia.
single
If
line.
autocompletion knows that
No,
already,
no, it doesn't.
it's not okay. Then maybe this type is called differently. Well, I was hoping
Single
it's single line
line,
comment trivia.
single lined.
It's not. Is it just comment trivia? Documentation. There's documentation comment, but I think that's something else.
Oh
Now
my
embarrass
god.
myself. Let me give. If I can't find out immediately, then I guess that's something for next episode. Fire right. It's tonight is trivia night, but without the drinking.
Oh,
Where Matkoch has vodka here.
he's got vodka. Nice.
I'd say that
It.
counts. Yeah.
I'd say that counts. Yes. Do you have to drink a shot every time I mess up at copy paste? Okay.
That's a syntax trivia. Okay, so my bad. No, that's a syntax trivia. That's something else. I missed that. Okay, maybe it's a syntax trivia. So I'm wondering if that's already a. Let's do one last set of debugging. I just store this var trivia.
I love how you said store when you meant delete.
Yeah, I meant.
Yeah, you can store my code. That's fine.
No, it's still there.
Yeah. In our hearts.
Okay, so with that game, we may be all doomed. I'll call in sick tomorrow.
Yep. Yep. That would be the wise choice.
Okay, so that's actually it's a syntax trivia, and maybe that syntax trivia has a kind single line comment trivia. I think this is the mistake that I made. So maybe we can check if the. There is my test explorer. I was wondering where it is. That doesn't work. No. So we could check now if that trivia is a. What did I want to say? Is a or has some kind, has a single
Okay.
comment. I forgot the name already.
Ooh.
Does it have something like kind? Because we used that kind, something similar like we used here via the global keyword. I'm not sure. Does this?
Oh.
I'm not guessing actually. Is there some as kind?
Yes. Yes, there is.
So that means that trivia then is rather similar to tokens.
Okay. And what was it? What was the kind?
And is there some single line? So is there a syntax kind dot single line syntax trivia or something?
Single line. Syntax kind, single line. Common trivia.
That sounds perfect.
Yay.
Okay. And if it is, I think we're getting there. And if it is, now I guess we need to extract the text out of that and see if it starts with slash slash with one of these slash
It
fields.
is, then we check if
Does the trivia has like
trivia.
a text or some string or
Trivia.
It's actually the first time I'm working with trivia.
Trivia. And what did you say? It's something with text,
Some
right?
text, or maybe we
No.
just two-string it.
Two. It says two full string.
Two full string. Let's give that a try.
Not
And if that
starts
starts
with.
with, yes, yeah, let's start with.
Okay.
Sounds promising.
And I suppose.
I haven't copied
What?
that. I'll go to the test and
Yes, please.
copy that in here. And I guess we also need another one
That would have
for
been a
the.
good opportunity for your shot, but unfortunately, Stefan copied for me. So I'm sorry.
And if it does, I
Oh,
guess we can
did I do
continue
it
again.
wrong? If yes.
I think we need one closing for the if.
Oh, okay. We continue. Continue. Yay.
And let's run the test. I'm totally uncertain. I never worked with trivia before.
I'm very certain.
Well. We expected one, but found none. Okay, so I guess we
continue too much.
so we
It doesn't.
catch all of them, I guess, but we still catch that one.
We still don't catch that one.
We still don't.
Oh, we still catch it, and we don't want to catch it.
Yeah.
You're right. But why?
Hold on, because maybe this continue here is too much. Let's get rid of that because we only want to continue if we find that.
Yes.
And woohoo! No, so we expected one, but actually found four, and I think that's good.
That's not good.
Because it is good because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but
That
we
means
want
we
to
have one
ignore
eliminated.
those.
Yes, we eliminated one, so now we need to eliminate the others as well. So if I
What?
would basically duplicate that line and also ignore the other one, because there is a subtle difference in here. And run the test again. Now it may be, oh no, it's not and, it's of course or. Now it may be just, now I would anticipate that it's only 3 left. And it is.
Wow.
And okay, so trivia is not trivial. And I guess speaking of continue, maybe we continue next time when we take care. I think the only thing that we now have left is the.
Nice.
I was thinking about this the last hour, I guess. Taking care of the multi-line comments because we still need to. There they are. Those two multi-line comments we still need to because we now only taking care of the single line comments.
Yes. Nice.
But we're almost there. We're almost there.
Can we just do those 2 lines just for me to be happy and have the test screen? I mean,
definitely.
that's. I mean, yes, this is a copy paste opportunity, but no, it is not because I will duplicate if I can. Ta-da!
Hold on. No, I think we are because that's fine. We need to take because we only go for the single line comment trivias.
Oh no.
We also need to go for the multi-line comment trivias.
Okay, now I see why you wanted to continue. I thought it was just like easy, simple as that. It's not. Okay.
So we need to duplicate that line and have another is kind check. I think this should be it.
Ooh. Okay, opportunity. There you go. Let's see. Ta-da! I did it wrong.
I won't duplicate the entire thing because
Shot.
because
Why?
the string checks don't really change. Oh no, hold on.
No.
Oh yes, they would. There was a difference. I totally
spit that shot out.
Yeah.
I did it right. I did
Yeah.
it right. Multi-line comment trivia. Woo! And then we need to start with this.
Exactly.
Nice.
I totally missed that. Wonderful.
Yeah. And wait, is that right? Is that wrong? That's right. Good.
I anticipate greenness. Perfect. Well done.
Amazing.
Very well done. Then
Okay.
perhaps next session we go through that again a little bit and refactor this. Maybe we can put this into a separate method
Yes.
because that method
Be pretty.
it's actually I need to scroll now, so maybe we refactor this a little bit. But we're quite there, aren't we? So what's left for our? So we ignored the auto comments. So we still perhaps we still want to check if it's really a C# project because that's the one we really support. So we throw an exception if it's Visual Basic, and we also want to support cancellation. And I
Yes.
guess this would conclude the what's it called? The counter. And then we will also tackle next time the globalizer, where we actually then turn those local usings into global usings.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. And when are we doing that?
We are going to do that on May the 10th. So in exactly 2 weeks, which is a Wednesday at the same 1700 UTC time.
Yep. Also, if you're struggling to remember that, just go on LinkedIn and follow us there, because we always post before we sort of go live, before we do our streams, and we again say what we're going to do roughly, what we expect to be doing. As always, it's it's going to be on the fly and whatever comes to mind and whatever you guys want to do as well. But yeah, just give us a follow and then you won't miss it. And also, obviously, that's 2 weeks. So if you crave content in between, we have a couple of recommendations for you. As always, there are some meetups that we have in our calendars. And if you'd like to attend, we'd love to see you there as well. The first one is C# source generators for Blazor, which is super cool. We actually used Blazor together, didn't we?
Oh yes, forgot about that. Forgot about that
You
already.
forgot about that? That was the best
Yeah,
project ever.
the Adventkalender. I love the name.
Yeah, I was also very proud of that name. But yeah, so that's really, really cool. And also go check out the Advent calendar if you can. Um,
And also so source generators. They are based on Waslin, so maybe they're also using some single line and multi line trivia. I don't know.
ooh, potentially. So get your vodkas. And oh yes, game stability and AI assisted development in Unity 3D. Is that in Vienna?
That's it's a Vienna group, but the meetup will be online.
Okay, fabulous. That's then online. And it's also like, I think the first one is exploring the power of generative AI with ChatGPT.
I have no idea what that means, so this is why I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. But, we use ChatGPT today in a way, so that's good. That's my link to that. Fabulous. It's late. Come on. I think that was a decent link. And last
Definitely.
but definitely not least, which is the most important event out of all of them, there's this guy that's going to be talking about how to test C# unit tests with mutation testing.
Yes.
So
you should definitely join that one.
I'll definitely be there.
JetBrains session. We'll talk in depth about mutation testing and all that we learned there. We will definitely apply to this project as well a little bit later, but there will be inevitable cross reference.
Amazing. Looking forward to it, actually. Cool. Thank you so much. Oh,
And yes, Fire Warrior, this will be Striker. That's the project I'll be using. Teaser.
okay. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, yes.
We have something?
Yeah, Matt Koch has the perfect goodbye. Kramstadina.
Kramstadina.
Thank you very much for joining. This was amazing. I learned about non-trivial trivia. And okay, and there is there is one last question. I have to show it. What about Dark Tide? It's a game. Yeah, Timo, let's talk about this afterwards. Okay, but I guess now I'm running out of stuff to say, I guess. Thank you very much for this episode, and we'll be back